Hello and welcome to the in-news series of Drishti IAS. I am Pooja Dwivedi, and in this segment today we are going to talk about a virtual summit that is going to happen between India, Iran and Uzbekistan on the joint use of the Chabahar port. So this topic is important from the perspective of prelims as well as from the perspective of GS Mains paper 1, 2 and 3. Let's begin with the topics of discussion that we are going to glide by. First of all, we will talk about why news, which will be followed by India and Iran relations. We will also talk about the Chabahar port. Then the recent agreements which were signed between India and Uzbekistan, the challenges, the way forward, and in the midst of the segment, I'm going to ask you a prelims-based question. Please comment the correct answer in the comment segment. So let's begin with why in news. Because a virtual summit on the joint trilateral use of the Chabahar port by India, Iran and Uzbekistan has happened. So if we talk about the impacts of it, first look at the map. Then we will discuss about the impacts. So this is the country of Iran where the Chabahar port is located. It shares its borders with many countries such as Iraq, Turkey, Armenia, Azerbaijan, as well as Turkmenistan, Afghanistan and Pakistan. Right? Iran has its capital at Tehran. And then we will talk about Uzbekistan. Uzbekistan is a country that is double landlocked. So Uzbekistan shares its borders with Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, then comes Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan as well as Afghanistan, and I already told you about Turkmenistan. And Uzbekistan's capital is at Tashkent. So I told you that I will tell you the impacts of it, but before that I would like to remind you that please keep a close tab on this particular region, this entire Middle East and Central Asian region, because it has stayed a lot in the news. For example, Armenia and Azerbaijan, they are related with Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. And then we also discussed about Saudi Arabia, UAE and Bahrain to come to progress with respect to Qatar. So keep a very close tab. A lot of happenings are happening in the geopolitical scenario with respect to these particular areas. So if we talk about the impacts of the agreement on the joint use of the Chabahar port. First is related to trade and second is related to geopolitical significance. If we talk about trade, as we all know that this particular area where Chabahar port is, this will boost trade in the sense Uzbekistan and other Central Asian countries, if start to use this particular trade, it will definitely give a boost and enhancement to trade and economies, the businessmen there. And as we know that Uzbekistan is one of the most populous countries in Central Asia, and it has ample resources of gold, oil, coal, gas as well as uranium. So India already made a very huge strategic breakthrough in the ties with Uzbekistan last year when India inked an agreement to import uranium to power its nuclear power plants. So because this particular port will give access to other countries with respect to Uzbekistan, this will boost the trade conditions there. And if we talk about the second one, geopolitical advantage, in the sense that because if all the countries like Uzbekistan come on board the Chabahar project, what will happen? The blockades which are initiated by Pakistan to render useless all the initiative taken by other countries in order to enhance connectivity between all these countries, it will be meaningless because it will just demolish the significance, the geographical significance of Pakistan in this particular region, because the trade will happen bypassing Pakistan. So these are the two impacts of it. Now we will talk about India and Iran's relation, then we will talk about the Chabahar port. If we talk about India's relationship with Iran, these two countries, because back then Pakistan was a part of India, so these two countries shared a common border till the year 1947. And these two countries have very strong cultural ties as well, people-to-people contact as well. And these two countries have strong commercial, energy and economic cooperation as well. So India and Iran, they established a diplomatic links on March 15, 1950. And in addition to embassy in Tehran, India also has two consulates. One is in Bandar Abbas and other is in Zahedan. Look at the map again. This is Bandar Abbas and Zahedan. Right? Moving on. So, if we talk about the volumes of trade between these two countries, it stands between approximately $10 billion USD, billion USD to 13 billion USD. And if we talk about the year 2019, India had taken over operations of the strategic Chabahar port, and it opened a new strategic route of connecting Iran, India and Afghanistan. To boost tourism, what did Iran do? Iran started offering stapled visa as well as e-visa to Indians. Also, in March 2019, several media reports had suggested that India is exploring the possibility of enhancing cooperation with Iran in order to counter terrorism. Also, if we talk about the strategic value of Iran to India, so besides being a very significant source of crude oil, Iran is critical to India's regional policy in the sense to counter the weight of China's growing influence in the Central Asian and every other region, in fact. So, Pakistan and China, because Pakistan shares a border with Iran, and Pakistan's and China's relationship has been very strong throughout the years, and because of the development of China-Pakistan economic corridor, it has been further boosted. So this is the strategic reason, this is the strategic importance of Iran to India. Now, we will talk about the Chabahar port. The Chabahar port, here it is, lying in the Gulf of Oman and is just 72 kilometers away from the Gwadar port, which has been developed in Pakistan with the help of China. So this particular region does not only have port. If we talk about port, the importance of it, it is the only oceanic port in Iran. Alright, and it has two other associate ports. One is Shahid Beheshti. Second is Shahid Kalantari. So India is already engaged with Iran and it's developing Shahid Beheshti, and it has got waiver from USA to continue its development, the Shahid Beheshti port. So this particular port does not only has a port but also a rail link which was signed and later dropped off to Zahedan, from Chabahar port to Zahedan, then to Zaranj, bypassing Pakistan. Right? This provided the connectivity. So if we talk about the background of it, it was in the year 2016 when India, Iran, Afghanistan, these signed a trilateral agreement which entailed the establishment of transit and transport corridor, that is the Chabahar project, among the three countries, using the Chabahar port in Iran as one of the regional hubs for sea transportation. So construction of a railway line was also there from Chabahar to Zahedan along the border with Afghanistan, as an alternate trade route to Afghanistan as well as Central Asia. As I told you, it was a part of it, but after that it was dropped off. So the state-owned India Railways Construction, or IRCON, it had signed a memorandum of understanding with Iranian Rail Ministry and promised to provide all sorts of assistance such as services, superstructure work and financing, which was around USD 1.6 billion. So the Chabahar port is being considered as the gateway, or the golden gateway, gateway to golden opportunities, or you can call it the golden gateway for trade between these three countries and other Central Asian countries in the wake of Pakistan denying transit to any sort of countries through it. So if we talk about why India was dropped off while to develop links between Chabahar port and Zahedan rail link. It was in the year 2020 only, in the month of July, when Iran started to initiate on its own to develop the railway link because of certain delays by the Indian IRCON company. If we talk about India's stand, India said that IRCON time and again went to check on the operations of the railway link, and it was waiting for Iran to appoint a nodal authority for it. But Iran's stand here was that because of USA's sanctions, this could be one of the reasons why India was very apprehensive about any sort of investment, further investment of being targeted by the US, right? So this may be the first reason, which was due to USA sanctions. Under it, India already had to fully stop, after a short period of waiver, fully stop the import of oil from Iran, right? First. Second, because of the comprehensive plan for cooperation between India and China, which has been a 25-year-old agreement which cost $400 billion. So because of that also, India was very apprehensive towards investment. Why? Because this particular comprehensive plan for cooperation between Iran and China would give China access to the duty-free zone of Chabahar port, and further China could get more greatly involved in the Chabahar port. This may be the second reason. So these were the certain reasons why delays were happening. In the year 2020 November only, what did Iran do? Iran asked for assistance from India in terms of monetary assistance and also in terms of locomotives and signaling, saying that India should provide at least some assistance to Iran said that India should provide some assistance to the Chabahar-Zahedan railway link. So that is why the delays are being there. Alright, moving on. Let's talk about India's and Uzbekistan's relationship. So India and Uzbekistan have a very close affinity when it comes to its cultural links. And Indian actors and songs are very popular in Uzbekistan. So India should tap the potential of India and Uzbekistan ties on that only. So if we talk about the agreement which have been signed recently, the Indian side confirmed the approval of a 448 million USD line of credit in 4 projects in Uzbekistan in the fields of road construction, also sewage treatment and information technology. Also, the Indian side reiterated its commitment to further deepen and intensify the development partnership between India and Uzbekistan, which consists of a framework of India-Central Asia dialogue. The Uzbek side conveyed its desire to explore the possibility of implementing priority developmental projects in Uzbekistan as a part of the $1 billion line of credit. Also, it was offered by India for Central Asian countries during the second meeting of the Indian-Central Asia dialogue. Now, noting the importance of the Chabahar port, plus the safety and security of the region, because these countries are very prone and vulnerable to terrorist activities. So India and Uzbekistan, looking at the importance of safety and the environment, safety of environment for development and prosperity, the two sides agreed to cooperate in addressing the threats and challenges to this particular region. The both sides agreed to further strengthen cooperation between the law enforcement agencies and also the special services of the two countries, which is inclusive of the framework of the Uzbekistan-India Joint Working Group on Counter-Terrorism, right? Because many a times the news has also reported since few years that the particular area of Chabahar is under terrorist control. So both sides also called for an early finalization of a comprehensive convention on international terrorism. The leaders noted that the establishment of peace and stability is very important for the economic growth of the country, of the region, and they call for the settlement of the Afghan conflict on the principle of Afghan-led. That means it should be led by the people of Afghanistan and Afghan-owned and Afghan-controlled peace process. The regional stability of Afghanistan is very important to all the countries which are involved with Afghanistan, and also in a way Also to counter the growing influence of Pakistan with respect to terrorism, because Pakistan is the breeding ground of terrorism and countries like Afghanistan and Iran are the target of terrorism. So a counter-terrorism strategy is the need of the hour for these countries. Now, let's talk about the earlier years. That means the year before this year. India and Uzbekistan signed 9 agreements and memorandum of agreement and understanding in the field of certain fields such as solar energy, digital technology, and on high impact community development projects, right? Moving on, let's talk about the challenges to this particular initiative. The first and the most significant is how to balance the relation. The ongoing sanctions on Iran by the Trump-led administration is definitely hindering any sort of economic progress in this particular region. So, how to balance the relation between India and USA, which further translated on the negative, further translated as an impact, like the negative impact on trade, should also be countered. How to balance that? That is the need of the hour. That is the most significant challenge. Second, energy security. Because of the sanctions provided by the put on by the US to Iran, what happened? India, after a certain point of time in May, had to completely stop the import of oil, right, from Iran. So that is the need. That is the second need of the hour, that India needs to diversify its energy security demands first. Second, then growing proximity of Iran with China. We talk about the comprehensive plan for cooperation between Iran and China. That is a threat here, as put by some experts in Iran, that India's lackluster enthusiasm in the construction of the rail link between Chabahar and Zahedan may push Iran further, because Iran right now is a cash-strapped country because of the sanctions put on by the US. So it may fall into the arms of China for that. Then conflict of interest, because the Chabahar port it lies very proximate to the Gwadar port, as we talked about, which was developed by China in Pakistan. So that is also a reason that this particular area where the Chinese military is already there, the Gwadar port, this may rise as another tension region. Alright, then comes terrorism. Another significant challenge for India is to counter terrorism, and for that India, Uzbekistan and Iran as well as all the countries of the Central Asia should have a targeted approach, because Iran and as well as Afghanistan are the targets of targets of terrorism which are bred in Pakistan. So that's another challenge, and also it may hinder the progress of Chabahar port. So if we talk about the way forward, strategic congruence and coordination is needed with respect to how to deal with the US sanctions. In fact, there is a new government in the US. We have to wait and watch. We have to adopt a wait and watch policy. But still, India needs to boost cooperation in forming a targeted policy with respect to US with Iran. Second, India should look beyond its own regional interests in the areas of, if it comes to Chabahar project, because if it attracts investment from various other countries from Central Asia, it can counter the weight of the China's Belt and Road Initiative, because China will again try to rebuild the lost confidence of the entire world because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So India should now move aggressively towards attracting investment like it has from Uzbekistan and cooperation from all the other Central Asian countries as well. India needs to diversify its oil dependence and also look for various diversification projects in its own country, like hydrocarbon, shale gas, natural gas, as Saudi Arabia is ready to invest $60 billion in the project of hydrocarbons, in the sector of hydrocarbons. So India should also tap that potential in its own country. Also, India should try to fulfill its commitment before or at least on time in order to keep in pace with the growing complexities of the entire globe. In fact, the Middle East right now is witnessing such a major geopolitical complexity. India should definitely try to keep pace with it. So now you have to tell me in the comment segment, where is Farzad B gas field located, right? So that's it for today. Tomorrow we shall meet again with a new segment. Until then, stay updated and thank you so much for watching.